us for the wrap-up. Hey! What's going on, Big D?
Another sad day for the Republicans. There's 49,152 registered voters in the Charlotte County Republican. How many went to the polls yesterday?
17,000 and change.
219, 17,219.
Borderline disgrace. It's a borderline, you know, and we said this.
Stephen R. Deutsch, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen R. Deutsch. Take it away, Stephen.
We used to talk about this when we did our lectures on the Constitution, but voting and turning out to vote and express your opinion in this country, it's not a privilege, it's a responsibility. And if you stop and think of it, the thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons of blood that were spilled so that we can do that. You know, it's a sad day, and I think Dale said it. It's disappointing and it's sad for all of us.
The ladies had to go home and make dinner for their husbands. You see, they couldn't take time
Oh, come on!
Vote.
Look, with all of the early voting, with all of the absentee
we have 3
ballots,
elections.
There's no freaking excuse at all, other than just blind-ass stupidity.
Ken is absolutely right. We have 3 elections. It used to be years ago, the only way you could get a mail-in ballot was with a doctor's note or tickets that you were going to be outside the country. But we have the mail ballots, we have early voting, which never existed before, and we have, you know, the tradition of Election Day. And I'm going to tell you, we should be running 85 to 95% of people voting, and that's disappointing, and it looks bad for the United States of America, for Florida, for Charlotte County. Folks, you know, it's a license to complain. It gives you a right to speak up, and that is disappointing.
Let me tell you what I ran into the last election. I was out around town, and I was talking to everybody. I said, have you voted yet? Well, no. You got polls open till 7. You better get there. Yeah, I'll try. Talked to one girl. I said, have you voted yet? No. She said, I can't vote. I said, why not? She said, well, I'm not, you know, I'm not registered yet. She said, well, I've only been in town here for 3 years.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that 5-year
See, when people don't vote, they end up getting stuck with people like me.
Exactly. That's what we're trying to say.
It is so disappointing. It's so what kind of surprise? I really
wasn't
surprised.
Again, the turnout was the biggest disappointment, the biggest surprise for me. I actually thought that we'd get at least half. But we didn't even we barely got a third.
Another thing that really tickles me is early voting, because they say, get out there and early vote so you won't have to stand those long lines at the polls. When I went to the polls yesterday about 1 o'clock, my wife and I walked in, we were the only people in the house, the only ones there.
Yeah, I did a mail-in. I would say, you know, and I was surprised at the numbers in the Bob Starr race. You know, I know Bob, I've worked with him. I think he's been a good commissioner. You know, we knew where he was coming from. He served with, you know, he served us with integrity, and he worked hard. He did his homework. He was good. Yeah, he was on the conservative side. He liked to say no, and I respect that. I loved arguing with him because he was stubborn, and you know, and I'm probably a little bit more flexible than he is. Then again, you know, Ken obviously is prepared. He has a lot of experience. He has good background. But I was surprised at the numbers there.
And also look at the undervotes. I mean, you had 5, 6, in some cases 700 people just didn't bother voting in that particular in one particular race or another. You know, I mean, again, with all the time that you've had, with all the information that's been out there, the apathetic nature of registered Republicans is.
There's always the lesser of 2 evils, Ken. You know, you say, well, I really don't care for either one. Well, you know what? If there's 2 or 3 people, pick the one that you like best. I mean, you know, and none of us are perfect.
Well, I'm going to ask Paul Smulis this when I get to see him sometime. Is it possible to put none of the above on the ballot?
I guess that's the undervote.
Because we had. That wouldn't be. They count that. He's not. You know, they could count that as a vote. But we had on this 3 people running for the school board, and I desperately wanted to write and to check the block. None of the above. You know, I wish they'd put that on there. It would. I think it would.
Well, come on. You know as well as I do that a school board these days more or less just a ceremonial position. I mean, they have little or no say in really what goes on.
Do it. They have it, but they won't use it, which is one of the reasons I would have voted none of the above, because they were all in the same bucket.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the Bob Starr Doherty race. I'm a great fan of Bob Starr and what he's done for the county in terms of finances and keeping the budget in check and kind of being an anchor on that end. I also I like Ken Doherty. I've known Ken since I served on the Charter Review Commission, and he's a pretty sharp guy. I think one of the differences in that race was Ken Doherty's visibility, because I go to a lot of meetings of one kind or another, not as much as Stephen Orr, but one kind or another, and I was teasing Ken Doherty because I told I was going to get him a doorman's jacket from the Wall of Astoria. You couldn't go anywhere; he wasn't at the front door shaking your hand. So I think it was that visibility that he did that really put him over the edge.
Well, that's well, my dad used to tell me you can never underestimate the intelligence of the American voter. Now, we'd rather have a guy that shakes your hand or architect the MSBU units. You know, I'd rather have him not shake my hand and don't give me the MSBUs than the other way around.
We have to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The problem is that the voters don't know anything in most cases. That scares me.
Yeah.
Well,
As well as voting.
And that's what's sad, because again, there's multiple places. Most candidates have their own website. They have their own Facebook page. The Sun did a pretty good job of getting all of their views out and allowing them space. We had most of them on the show, if not all of them on the show. And it is what it is.
How many people really bother to go to the web page, Ken?
Well, apparently only 17,219.
And probably only a fraction of them. I think it's fair that we give credit where credit's due. And and I've been on the commission a few years, and I've watched it for years before that. I think we've got to give credit. In all honesty, the commissioners had to work together, and it took 3 to pass everything. But I think the driving force to get us away from the $1 billion budget, a lot of the credit has to go to Bob Starr and Robert Skidmore. In all fairness, and the other commissioners pitched in, Trish Duffy was there, and Dick Loftus, and I don't think Adam Cummings too often, but and they joined in. But I think a lot of the pressure and the force for that came from Skidmore, and Starr, and they should get credit for that, because it brought us back to reality where we were with the county budget. I mean,
that's true.
There's obviously other factors, and again, I don't think we want to get into detail on Skidmore, but he's a bright, competent guy.
He is.
He
just let his personal life overtake his public life and make it too public, and do things that I think were more of a distraction than were of an aid.
And I don't think, as bright and as sharp as Skidmore is, I don't think he was aware of the negative out there. And, that was a factor. On the Star race, I'm sure, and I called Bob last night, and I was shocked. And I think Bob was too, and surprised. Mm-hmm. Because, again, nothing against in any way, and I share John's sentiments. Nothing in any way to take away from Ken Doherty. Ken's experienced. He's a good man. He'll bring some good things to the commission. But nothing to take away from him. But Starr was a good commissioner, and I think Doherty will be as well. Mm-hmm. But in a way, I'm going to miss Bob, because we argued all the time. Either about politics.
I like Bob's really going anywhere.
He's not going to go anywhere. And I
hope not. See him Tuesday morning.
I hope not.
Hi, caller. You're on the air.